Hey, what's up guys? This is Technical Tim here, and I want to thank everyone so much who's been liking all my videos and subscribing to the channel, and I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video a thumbs up, or if you've subscribed if you haven't already. And just so you know, it's currently Wednesday, the 10th of July, and we have the Aspen Ladd UFC Sacramento. It's the Ladd Germain de Randamie card coming up this weekend, and so I'm gonna preview 2 fights on this and on that card, but just a few house cleaning items. So the Contender Series, I put up a pic yesterday. I went after a dog, Okan, over Hunter. I forget his fucking name, Hunter, and I thought Okan would be able to sprawl and brawl, and he did stop a lot of the wrestling early, but Hunter kind of just outperformed my striking expectations and kind of chewed his leg up with a leg kick and then ended up winning. So wasn't like, I just took like a small shot at the underdog, so that did miss, but we have, so it's just like a small little play. So we did miss that, but I just kind of threw up those Contender Series picks for free. But we have PFL, Bellator, and UFC coming up this week, and Gugabe and I actually recorded our podcast, and I'll send that out today. I wasn't taped on a few fights when I did the recording, but I am pretty much all taped now. And so we kind of talk about all of our plays. I'm still making some decisions on a few. I have my eye on a few, and I'm kind of like, I'm not going to say too much yet, but I will once I kind of decide, and I'll have like a final thoughts video and things like that. But then we have 2 fights in particular that I feel like a lot of people want to talk about, but they're kind of anticipated. The Aspen Ladd GDR fight, and then the Buren and Souza fight. And I'm going to focus on Buren and Souza because I actually have a play on it. But I discussed it a little bit in the Gugabe podcast, but I want to kind of give my reasons as to why I think Brianna should win this fight. So, if you know, Brianna just won the Invicta tournament at 115, and she's super fucking athletic, and she's a good striker. She's a southpaw, has a good 1-2, and has a good body kick that she kind of consistently lands. And then Souza's good. She's mostly a grappler, although she's got some pop in her strikes and can put together some combinations at times, but she does slow down. But pretty much like the way I see this fight is, I think we have the better I'm playing Van Buren, just so you know. I'm going to play 2 units on her. I would actually go a little, even at her even money line. People who got her at like she opened at like plus 130. Like I think you get her around plus 130, 135. That was a steal of a line because I favor her straight up. And right now she's around kind of like around even money. You could get her on like minus 110 even money. And I played her 2 units there. I wish I would have actually seen earlier and been able to get her line as she was a dog. But essentially what I see in the striking is I think she consistently lands more and throws better combinations, and she's way faster than Souza too. And Souza's striking, she throws a lot of like single shots as the fight goes and slows down, and I really like the pace and the overall kind of volume that Van Buren throws. And I think she's going to consistently land on the feet, and she's hard to hit too. She's super fast in and out. So I like her overall as like the striker, especially at distance. I think where you could have success on her is in the clinch, kind of clinching up and making it a grueling fight. And the main concern for Van Buren in this matchup is kind of her fight with Amy Montenegro, but it was back in 2015, and she's improved dramatically in a couple of areas like offensive wrestling and her overall striking and her just cardio and just kind of like cage generalship. She's really improved. So I'm guessing like these little holes that I'm going to talk about that I saw in that fight have improved. And even then they weren't bad, but you can kind of clinch her up if you kind of just like leech onto her and just kind of make it a grueling fight. She kind of sometimes has trouble disengaging from the clinch, but she's still a good wrestler and she understands the over-under position. But you can do that to her. But Souza, I don't see Souza doing that. She doesn't do that because she kind of gets tired. She paces herself. She's more of like a single strike girl, or from the wrestling, she does like one shot, or she'll do like one explosive big double leg, or one explosive big single leg, or one explosive big body lock, or something like that. She doesn't really like grind on you. So I don't think that's going to be a worry here. I think it will kind of, she might at times, but I don't think as much as Montenegro did. And so I think that will be a lot of distance striking opportunities for Van Buren, which I think she'll win. And then Van Buren has one of the best double legs I've ever seen for women's MMA. It's really good. It's super explosive, and she floats on top position really well. So the way I see kind of Van Buren scoring with her offense is the striking, especially at distance. I think she'll just be a little too fast, a little too athletic, and more cardio with the more consistent punches landing and body kicks. And then I think she can get takedowns and kind of float on top position at times. Souza's a good grappler, but she can be laid on, especially if she's tired. And I think Van Buren will kind of score her offense in those two areas. And the way Souza has to win here, I mean, a random sub, or she hits actually kind of hard for women's MMA, but I doubt she'll knock Van Buren out. But I think she'll have to kind of land something. She'll have to kind of get a finish, or to win rounds here. I think she needs to. She likes to get top position a lot, but overall, I like it. It's possible. I haven't seen recent footage of Van Buren on the floor, but I did find some things, and the Montenegro fight did show me something, and that was 4 years ago. She's hard to hold on her back. It was more when Montenegro would get her up against a cage, kind of standing and landing clinch strikes, is where she was having her success. It wasn't really laying on Van Buren on the mat. And when Van Buren did get taken down, she fought for an underhook immediately, and in the way that I like to see if I'm betting someone, to know that they're not too risky of getting laid on their back. So I think just like that overall round-winning path of Souza getting Van Buren down and laying on her back it's possible. I just don't think it's super likely whenever you take the other advantages that Van Buren has. Like Van Buren getting Souza on her back, she's going to be the top player mostly in this matchup. But where I think Souza can maybe win rounds instead is kind of just getting like dangerous jiu-jitsu positions, like maybe getting a back take and kind of riding out of that. But she doesn't really do that. She's got a really attacking style, and I like Van Buren's overall jiu-jitsu awareness coupled in with her wrestling. Like you can tell she is more of a wrestler, but she has some jiu-jitsu elements, and I like her overall kind of awareness down there. Souza could get a sub, but that's possible. But to win rounds, I don't think Van Buren's just gonna get her back taken, and that's gonna be that. Like she has good grappling instincts, and she's hard to hold down because she fights for that underhook. So I think she's kind of an easy play. I would actually go heavier than 2 units, but the reason I'm not is because I just want to be safe and I want to be disciplined in the fact that we haven't seen Van Buren go against a grappler who could maybe put her in a little more dangerous spots. And Souza could probably do that, but I still think Van Buren, she's got so many more advantages than Souza has against her in this matchup. And I just don't think Souza's going to be able to just easily sub her. It's possible, but then if she can't get that sub to win rounds for her, it might be tough. She's going to just have to get like some dominant ground positions and ride it out, which I just don't see happening. It's possible, but I just think chances are Souza kind of I think she kind of wins clearly in this fight. That's what I think is going to happen. And then a lot of people are talking about the Ladd GDR fight, and we all know if Ladd gets on top, she'll probably smash GDR and get a finish. If GDR can sprawl and brawl, she'll win. So we know that. So the takedown is obviously the main concern in this fight, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Ladd is currently implied to win around, what is that? About like 60-ish% of the time. 62, I think. And I wouldn't play that. I wouldn't play Ladd there. And I do think if she wins, she'll get a finish anyway. But it's a weird fight because GDR is going to be winning anytime Ladd doesn't get a takedown. But she could be winning at any point, and then Ladd could just get a takedown. So that makes live betting super tasty in this fight, because if GDR like wins a round and becomes like a pretty big, like, I don't know, like a minus 200 favorite, like I'd actually want to play Ladd at that point, because anytime she gets a takedown, I think she'll probably finish GDR. But what I've seen is I've seen a lot of people talk about GDR's overall like grappling improvement and everything, and her takedown defense since that Nunes fight where she got taken down and dominated. I think it's unlikely that GDR off her back has improved to the level where she was then, to the point now where she needs to survive Ladd, because Ladd 10-8'd Sijara Eubanks, who's a world-class grappler, pretty easily, and Ladd just finishes people when she gets on top. Like, I think if Ladd gets on top, she'll dominate, and so I don't buy that, like GDR all of a sudden being able to be good off her back. Possible, low percentage. And then her takedown defense, which is, like I said, really the main analysis you need in this fight. So I don't like Ladd's takedowns. I don't. I'm going to be completely real. But she likes it. She can, every now and then, she can, against Lena Landsberg, she kind of just did she level change and hit a double. So she might have a little bit of takedown variety. And I've seen a couple of times where she's done something like that. But usually what happens is she rushes you up against the cage, and then she likes to fight for underhooks there and maybe get a body lock and kind of squeeze into you and kind of get you down. And GDR, a lot of people love her takedown defense. Like, it's funny because I don't really like Ladd's offensive wrestling, and I really don't like GDR's takedown defense either. So I'm kind of like on the opposite end of some people, but GDR, she gets pushed up against the cage too easily. Like, if you look against Pennington, if you look at one of her other fights like a few years ago too, she gets pushed up there way too easily. So that tells me in a 5-round fight, Ladd's gonna have, unless if she gets knocked dead, and I mean, she might get knocked dead by GDR at some point, but Ladd's gonna have just a ton of opportunities and a ton of time up against the cage. And GDR spent a ton of time against Pennington up against that cage. And just, even though Ladd's takedowns aren't all that good, GDR does, she doesn't really fish for underhooks up against the cage. She'll get an overhook. And a lot of the people who've been trying to take her down haven't switched to the body lock all that often. What they do is they reach in between your legs and kind of try to do the Daniel Cormier thing. And almost no one can get takedowns doing that because they're just not good. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about when someone picks up a single leg in the air and they're trying to just pick up their opponent and get him down, and they just look like idiots and the other person easily stops it. That's like what a lot of GDR's takedown defense up against the cage has been. And she gets a lot of overhooks because she likes to use the overhook to frame off and then land her strikes because she comes from that Thai base. And so that's going to give Ladd a lot of underhooks and a lot of time up against the cage, just because Ladd pushes people up against the cage. GDR always finds her way defending up against the cage. Ladd likes that underhook and body lock, and GDR likes those overhooks to kind of land strikes. So I tend to think, like, I'm not saying Ladd's going to easily get takedown. That's not what I'm saying. But in a 25-minute fight, her chances of just getting a takedown are probably more likely than not, which is why I tend to actually favor her in this matchup, because I think, like, if GDR shuts her out and wins and just lights her up or just knocks her out within the 25 minutes, or she just shuts her out and wins like a dominant decision, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But I do think it's probably more likely that Ladd gets those takedowns because she's going to have that time up against the cage, and she's going to go for those underhooks that will give her the body lock. And I'm not so sure GDR is as good at defending body locks than single legs. She might be. She might be, but we haven't really seen it. And I wouldn't rely on it because defending a single leg is a lot different than someone clasping their hands together after they get those underhooks, body locking you and kind of getting you down. And Ladd's body lock isn't that great, but she tends to get people down. And the thing is, just whenever you're up against a cage like that and it's kind of just a lot of time up there, GDR could just lose her balance or something. Like, there's just a lot of opportunities for Ladd to probably get on top because she's going to be able to have that position up against the cage. One other thing I saw, GDR does keep her left leg, or even her right, but usually people are kind of like shooting in on her left side. She keeps it kind of not that close up against the cage, so I could see even just a little, like a body lock to a trip, like Ladd just getting that reap or that trip in, and I haven't seen people really try that on GDR. Could see Ladd doing that too. So I see little tendencies in GDR to make me think Ladd could probably get her down, not consistently, but could get her down in a 25-minute fight once or twice, and then probably get a finish. But I think the way to if you're Ladd, I think the way to approach this fight is just a live bet, because I don't know if she's going to get GDR down right away, and she might get tuned up in that first round. But I'm just going to live bet and kind of see if any opportunities come my way. I'm really not... I understand the GDR... I wouldn't play Ladd at that line. I understand the GDR backers, but if this was a 3-round fight and less time for Ladd to kind of have that cage time, then I would be more willing to kind of think GDR has a chance to kind of shut her up. But in a 5-round fight, I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. At the end of round 2, there was also kind of like a takedown defense sequence with GDR against Pennington that I didn't like, because she kind of like Pennington got too deep in on her hips, and I could see Ladd maybe kind of springing something together. But overall, I think this is kind of a stay away, and it's a weird fight because the favorite is going to pretty much be losing anytime she doesn't get her takedown, and her takedown is not going to come easy, so it's kind of weird. But in a 25-minute fight, I think it's more likely than not that Ladd does get her down, and if she gets her down, I think, especially if she gets her down at the beginning of the round, she'll probably finish her. It's not a guarantee, but probably. So that's my analysis. I think Van Buren's a solid little play. Like, I just think she's better. And has 2 big advantages with her kind of perimeter striking game, her speed, her athleticism, and her double leg. I think she'll be able to get some top time, and she's kind of hard to hold down. So, and then Ladd Germain, I want nothing to do with that, but be on the lookout for the podcast with Gugabe. And if you want any other fights in-depth preview, just let me know. I'm still making some decisions on some fights. Like right now, I'm really just on Van Buren. But I'll have more plays coming for sure. And I'm kind of just doing my due diligence. So thank you so much, guys.